Hi guys! Today I thought, well, more than thought, but hey ho, that's how it goes. I'd do a video on non-verbal learning disorder. Hey Papa Boy. Hi. Sorry, my dog is being cute. Because, well, for a start in England, it's not very well understood. It's not really something that we've heard of around here. Realistically, you only hear about it if you have someone in your family with NLD or you're in school and you need to learn about it. But NVLD is non-verbal learning disorder or non-verbal learning disability, depending on your view of it. It is a very confusing, contradictory condition, in all fairness, because of the way it's viewed. I mean, we're viewed as immature, as stupid, as not able to do stuff, when in reality it's just that people don't understand what it's like to really live with that condition. I've lived with it for 27 years now because it was so hard to diagnose, because you're not meant to have both autism spectrum disorder and non-verbal learning disorder. You're only meant to realistically get diagnosed with one or the other. But I was diagnosed with both at two very separate ages. But it is on my official diagnosis. It's mainly heard of in America, which obviously is a long way away from here. It's a long way away from England and from the UK in general. But it's still heard of here. You still can get diagnosed with it. It's mainly connected to or thought as something like Asperger's syndrome, which is on the autism spectrum. But non-verbal learning disorder is not on the spectrum. They are very, very different conditions. It's characterised and it's seen, well, I guess when it comes to psychologists or sociologists or the person diagnosing it, basically, as the person will have strength in verbal information, in communicating verbally, let's try that one again. But then they'll also have difficulties in the non-verbal side of things, like non-verbal information, which is things like body language and facial expressions and visual information like pictures and pieces of art and things that people just want you to look at, that is completely confusing to us. Like, I can't read a picture or facial expressions or body language. Yes, we may make those faces ourselves, and yes, we may have that body language, but we can't read it. I can't read same reason I can't read metaphors, I can't understand similes, I can't understand sarcasm. I still have to have those very much explained to me or for me, because I don't understand them. I don't know when someone's doing it. I don't know when someone's being sarcastic. People with NLD often do have comorbid conditions that go with them. ADHD is a big one. ADD, sometimes even autism, along with non-verbal learning disorder, like I've got it. But I don't think it's very often you get diagnosed with it in England. People with NLD have social skills difficulties and motor coordination difficulties and visual spatial difficulties. They're quite common with people with NLD. They're not. But that doesn't mean you can be idiotic. That doesn't mean you can be bullies. That doesn't mean that you act like a complete jerk just because you don't understand something. In general, it's quite a misleading condition because the signs are just as confusing. I mean, someone with NLD may have poor social skills, struggle with math, especially reading math, like reading comprehension math, word problems, that's the word I'm looking for. But yes, reading comprehension is often a difficulty. Writing neatly is another one. We may take longer to learn to read and write. We may have unneat, laborious handwriting that most people probably don't understand and probably can't read, like chicken scratch. is how they describe doctor handwriting. It's a bit like that, only rarely it's joined up because, let's be fair, it takes us long enough just to learn to write. Doing it joined up as well takes twice as long. And coordination is not great. It's quite poor if they've got motor coordination difficulties along with their NLD, but we may just be seen as clumsy when in reality it's part of our condition. There are chances that when we're in school we'll remember information but not remember why we remember the information or not understand why it's important. We may share information that is either in socially inappropriate ways or socially inappropriate information that realistically should be private, but because we don't understand that, we don't have that idea or that tact to keep it private and keep it away from certain people. We're going to pay it in school or college or work. We might pay attention but miss the big picture. Like, we focus a lot on detail and how details are meant to be, but we miss the giant picture, like the whole entire picture of it, and only focus on little bits. We could be physically awkward. I mean, I'm still physically awkward, and I've had physio and occupational therapy, and I still fall over. I still trip over the most random of things, still fall over thin air, and I'm still not able to balance well. I'm still learning to balance, even after doing physio since I was quite young. But that's just because that's going to be a continuous difficulty for me, regardless of how long I have to do it for. I mean, we may miss social cues. Because we already have poor social skills, social cues aren't going to come easy to us. Like, we may have difficulties with fears that are probably seen as irrational or immature to most people our age. I mean, I know some of my fears are seen as irrational and immature, even by people who have known me for years and know about my condition. I'm still scared of the dark. I hate the dark. I refuse to sleep in it. There is zero that I am willing to do in the dark. I still sleep with night lights. I still sleep with blankets. I still sleep with tough toys to guard my bedroom because I'm scared of monsters in the dark. And I know that sounds immature to most people. I know that sounds stupid to most people. But that's partly to do with my NLD, and it's also partly to do with my past, which I won't go into detail about because, let's be fair, that's not what this video is about. Definitely I'm still fearful of new situations. So again, a lot of this does tie in with NLD and autism, but it's a lot harder when you've got both, especially since both of them mean that you're scared of new situations and you don't like change at all without warning. It's not like 2-minute warning, it's more of a we need at least 24 hours warning if something is going to change kind of warning. Pardon me. However, when it comes to NLD, there are also, I guess you could say, good things about it. I mean, it's not really positive because it's a disability, but at the same time, they are really helpful at times for me when it comes to my special needs. NLD does have some really helpful things. Like, I've got great memory skills. I remember everything I'm told. Almost everything, depending on how bored I get in between a conversation. I am wonderful when it comes to vocabulary. I'm able to express myself in many words, some of which I probably shouldn't have known at the ages I knew, but I could and I understood them. I watch everything. People with NLD are very observant. We might not always see what you think we see. We might see the world in a different way, but we see what you do. We see how you behave towards us. We see what you're doing and what we're meant to be doing. We're not going to not see it just because we've got a disability. We're good at listening. Or at least some of us are good at listening. Not everyone with NLD is good at listening. I am, as long as I don't get bored. And I get bored pretty quickly and pretty easily, because apparently my head doesn't think things all the way through. And I apologise if you can hear the dog barking in the background. He's chasing a toy. He keeps growling at me like he's going to get me to play, and I've just took him for a walk, so I'm not going to. Jake, be quiet! Where was I? We may have... And there it is. We may have a strong reading ability. Like, I love to read. I love books. I have more books, I think, than I do comics. My brother has comics. I don't get the point in comics. They're visual and they're confusing. Their layout is confusing. Their way of communicating is confusing because you don't know when you're meant to start and where you're meant to end. So I don't read comics. But I do like books, and I do like picture books that have words as well. So there are some aspects of reading and language that I can understand now. But that's only because I've been working on it for years and years and years. And that's the same for anyone with NLD. They may learn and they may pick up these skills, but they also can't generalise. So there may be a chance that you teach us something, but because we can't generalise it onto another task that's very, very similar, we may have to relearn it, we may have to work out it again, and we may have to be taught it each and every time until we've got it. Repetition is our safety net. Boring is our safety net. Routine is our safety net. It might look boring to other people, but for us it keeps us calm, it keeps us safe, it makes sure we do the tasks we need to do, and it stops us from getting overly anxious and overwhelmed, which is pretty easy with NLD. And most people with NLD, have strong root language skills. They're able to communicate and sound a lot older than they are. I mean, there's a chance as well that the good things can hide the bad. I remember being at school, and I remember talking to adults and finding adults a lot easier to talk to because people my age didn't understand my vocabulary or weren't interested in the conversation I was trying to have because of the way I was having it. Everyone else wanted to run around and play and do all the rest of it. I just wanted to be around people who understood my thought processes and what I was saying and what I was doing. I didn't particularly want to be running around and playing games because it was too loud and too frightening to me. I was much happier either one-on-one with someone or on my own